communication, for those of you who are here, is for this reason. For those of you who were here last week, Commissioner Henderson tried to ask a question about the chief executive's trip to China, and because the report about the trip to China was in the chief executive's report, and of course I'm learning about my role as a commissioner, because the information was in the chief executive's report, the Council of Commissioners are not allowed to ask questions if information is in the chief executive's report. So I put together a communication so we could ask questions about the trip to China. And I'm asking questions that I put together that have been asked of me on behalf of my constituents in District 1 via phone calls, emails, and texts. And I wanted to ask them in this forum. So thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. So first question, when did Butte-Silverboe and the administration begin working on the trip to China?
I believe I already covered all of this. It would be in the minutes from the last meeting, but to engage and answer your questions, it would have been back in August time frame. And I guess that's, to be clear, we started prepping for the governor's trade mission to China, on which we knew there were 2 Butte delegates. And so we prepared some prospectus to send along with them. And then we heard back after that in, I guess roughly, it would have been sometime in December, right after the holidays, we started planning in earnest on this.
Thank you. And when did your administration inform any member of the Council of Commissioners that you were going to China?
I guess it would have been, I don't know. It was whenever the first request was made to the finance and budget to reimburse Dr. Wilson. Is that?
So 3 weeks ago?
But it's on the public record. I guess we can check.
So probably about, was it 3 weeks ago? Can you tell for my constituents, since you started doing the work for the trip back in December and 3 weeks ago asking for travel money, why that length of time? Did you not feel necessary to inform the council that you were working on a trip to China, or?
Commissioner Perdue-Dolan, I guess I don't understand exactly your question, other than to say that there was a lot of preparation that went into finding out when exactly the dates were going to be on this. So I brought it to the finance and budget and the council's attention when I felt it was appropriate, which was when we knew the trip was going to happen for certain.
Okay. The reason I ask is because the Butte-Silverboe citizens are being asked to pay, and these are the questions that I've been getting. They're being asked to pay between $10,000 and $12,000 for this trip, and I'm wondering, knowing that you were putting together this trip, why you didn't find it in your discussions to ask input of the council to say, putting this together and wondering the economic development piece, to ask their input and to say, not me particularly, because I wasn't even on the council at that point, but any of the folks here to say, what should we include? This might be a great trip, maybe even though you're may or may not go, but Tech was certainly going for their exchange program. Did you think that was important to go?
I guess...
or to gather information?
It would have been early February when we actually made the decision that anybody was going to China. That was the point where we really began in earnest, starting the process of making these arrangements. And so I guess I just don't see it as being anything out of the ordinary to spend a couple of weeks doing things before I incur expenses to bring them forward. But I guess in addressing your general question on bringing it to the council, I feel I brought it to the council when we went through the budget process last year. All of the expenses, which are actually the travel expenses, are in the neighborhood of over $4,824 for myself, and then another $4,824 for Mr. Masker. They're in my budget, and this is in the I guess duties of the chief executive. So hopefully that's a good enough answer.
When did you call our former Senator Baucus, who's now ambassador to China, that you would be in China so that he could assist you in your visit and help make contacts for you and Butte Silverbow?
I did not call Ambassador Baucus. That was done on the delegation's behalf by Mr. Masker, Winston, I believe, maybe somebody from Montana Tech. But turns out Ambassador Baucus is going to be here while we're there, and we're working well with getting face-to-face discussions set up with his staff at the embassy over there.
Point of order here.
Commissioner Foley.
I guess I'm trying to understand here, Commissioner Dolan, exactly. I mean, I feel very uncomfortable with the line of questioning. This is not a inquisition or investigation here. I mean, I guess there's a time and place to ask questions, and that's fine, but to put it on order here and ask the questions that you're asking, a lot of this stuff's been discussed, and you have the opportunity on a personal level to meet with the chief executive and discuss this. I mean, I don't know what the rest of you are feeling here, but I'm questioning where these questions are coming from constituents.
Yeah, I have some questions from folks, and I said I would ask them tonight.
And you want to take council's time to be able to basically grill the chief executive. I mean, you can have your own opinion on this, and that's fine. And we all have our own opinions, but I mean, there's a time and place for asking questions, and what the proper role of our, as the chief executive says, that, you know, we all have questions on expenditures and you know, trips and things like that. But to push the line of questioning, I don't see the point. And this isn't a witch hunt here, and that's, I'm feeling very uncomfortable with the way you're asking questions of where this is going, and I don't think it's proper.
And I guess I would like to address this too. I mean, obviously this is your second communication. Please refer your constituents to me. I would be happy to answer their questions. This is not the proper venue to be running through all of these different questions. I'm happy to answer them, but to answer them on the floor here, I mean, it's not a wise use of the time of our elected officials up here, and we can get to this information. So.
Yeah. Well, my big concern was last week when we couldn't ask questions, and you had you gave information about the trip, and then had it in the chief executive's report, but then we weren't allowed to ask questions. And you had it in your chief executive's report, but when we were asking questions about, and I was going to follow up from Commissioner Henderson about the reason for your trip and the economic development reason, and then we were cut off. He was cut off by the county attorney saying from the agenda, because it's in the chief executive's report, the council's not allowed to ask questions.
I'm going to interrupt you.
So that's the only reason for the communication.
Yeah,
I guess.
And I guess, you know...
And I'm sorry if I'm new.
Commissioner Henderson asked me additional questions after the meeting, which, again, I'm happy to answer any questions, but you know, you were elected by your constituents to represent them,
And so
not
that's what I'm
to
doing.
bring their questions and ask them verbatim on the public record. I'm just as available to your constituents as you are, so please have them call me. Commissioner Ralph?
If it helps any, the reason that we cannot ask questions during the chief executive's report is because in the council rules and order, which are developed by the council, it does not allow for that. So council is the ones who have decided that that's not the proper place for those questions. The idea of the chief executive's report is merely for him to let us know what's going on, and then our position is that we would then, if we had questions, ask him about them later, but not on the council floor, because obviously there's 12 of us. We're not going to have the same 12 questions, you know, on every issue that happens, and it's just a waste of everybody else's time to just beat everything all at once, you know.
Well, I apologize, I mean, I'm just trying to do what I thought was the proper procedure from not being able to ask questions, then putting it on the agenda so I could ask you questions for my constituents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Montana?
Thank you, Mr. Chief Executive. Commissioner Nolan, you are available to ask the Chief Executive questions. He's available. It seems to be at our disposal at any time. I mean, if I have a question, you can send an email or a phone call or make an appointment or a meeting to meet with him in person. So it's not like he's not making himself available. To reiterate what Commissioner Ralph states, it's rules and procedures to run a proper meeting set forth by this body that doesn't allow us to ask questions during that 5-minute window. But outside of 5 minutes, we can ask them any question we want to, probably in a private setting or in a public forum. I think it's a great opportunity, and I would love for economic development and forward thinking. I mean, I can't even believe that we're discussing the fact that we have an opportunity to showcase our city or look for an opportunity for investment like any other community in the country does. And to speculate that it's just kind of a trip for 2 weeks to get out of town. I mean, I really have a problem with economic development moving forward and looking for opportunity. If you want business, you have to conduct business. You have to go there and do it. You have to be in the game and in the arena. And you have to look for the opportunity. And if we're going to second guess in a public forum, every chance we get and kind of make it like an opportunity to pick and pack it, you know, the reasoning behind it. I would never bring a business to Butte Silver Bow if I read this in the paper and stated that if I had an opportunity to bring a business, why would we speculate conducting business there? This is a great opportunity for our community. I hope we have more in the future. I hope we get out of town and start selling ourselves better than we have in the last 20 years. And, you know, with that said, I just think it's, you know, poor policy to question in a public setting the reasoning behind trying to showcase or sell your community for a better position.
Commissioner Purdue-Dolan?
I don't think it's ever poor policy to ask questions on behalf of your constituents who elected you to office. However, being new and not knowing procedure, I, you know, say sorry for that. However, I will say, though, I do question when I would say to the chief executive, Montana Tech putting together a trip to China for their foreign exchange program is a wonderful thing. And if he knew back in December and putting together this trip and for economic development for Butte Silver Bow and not letting the constituents of Butte Silver Bow know about that, and or any member of this body, I'd think twice, because putting people in the loop is certainly transparent. Thank you very much.
Well, I guess I would just respond, Commissioner Perdue-Dolan, that transparency begins with communication, and you have not called my office or sent me a single email since you started your job here. And I would, again, as I encourage and make myself open to all of the commissioners up here, please send me an email, give me a phone call. I'm more than happy to meet with you. Commissioner Foley.
I'll make a motion to go to place communication 15945.
Second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there anything necessary on the question? Commissioner Henderson.
Mr. Chief Executive, I would like to ask Commissioner Dolan, are you done asking your questions?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Section 6,